Hi guys. Today for writing we are learning about our last bit of figurative language, which are idioms. And idioms are the definition for idioms is very similar to just our regular definition of figurative language. It's just things that we say, words or phrases that we say that are not meant to be taken literally. But the reason why we put them in their own group, away from similes and metaphors and hyperboles, is because they don't really apply there. They are phrases that we say that if you were someone who maybe wasn't an English speaker or like a native English speaker, then you might hear these phrases and have literally no idea what they mean, but they're just things that we say that a lot of the time we know what they mean. But if you heard them from the outside, it would be really, really confusing. So what we're going to need for this lesson is your writing journal, and you're going to open to the page where we started taking our notes on figurative language. The last one that we ended with was automatopoeia. So go to that part of your notes, and we're going to add another definition. This is going to be the last definition that we add, and that definition is for idioms. So idioms, let me get rid of that double screen, sorry about that. Idioms are, and if you could write this down, pause the video if you need to, words or phrases which mean something different from its literal meaning. So again, they're just things that we say that are not meant to be taken literally at all. So one example of an idiom is it's raining cats and dogs. If we literally meant that it was raining cats and dogs, that would mean that cats and dogs are falling out of the sky. Do you see how?
And attention, please. At this time, we will dismiss pre-K and kindergarten. We'll see everyone tomorrow. Have a great afternoon.
Sorry about that, guys. If it's raining cats and dogs, that literally means that cats and dogs are falling out of the sky. This is not a simile either. This isn't a metaphor. It's not saying the sky is something else. It's saying it's raining cats and dogs, which if you heard that again from the outside and you hadn't heard that before, that would be really, really confusing. That is an example of an idiom. So go ahead, pause the video if you need to, and write that down. All right, so I'm going to show you guys some examples of idioms. These are also going to be examples of proverbs and adages, and I'm not going to have you write down the definition for proverbs and adages because we really group them together with idioms when we're talking about them. They're just well-known sayings containing wise thoughts or advice. So, for example, if you've ever heard the saying, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, that's just, it's, again, not to be taken literally, but it's just kind of saying if you eat healthy, you won't have to, you won't be sick all the time. So an adage is a short common saying or phrase that tends to be old, known for decades or centuries. And then a proverb is a short, well-known saying stating a general truth or piece of advice. So I would say that an apple a day keeps the doctor away thing would be more of an adage. But we're just going to group these with idioms, okay? There we go. Why did writers use idioms, proverbs, and adages? Well, it's the same kind of explanation as before when we just talked about regular figurative language or different figurative language. It makes their work more creative. A lot of the time it adds humor, and it's to connect with their readers. We say these idioms all the time, and so to say these phrases that someone's familiar with, it could be a way of connection. All right, so I want for you to pay really close attention to this slideshow because this type of thing that I'm showing here is very, very similar to what you will be doing for your assignment. Basically, we have in this sentence an idiom. It said, Jack opened a can of worms when he read his sister's diary. Opened a can of worms is an idiom. He didn't actually open a can of worms. If we took that literally, it would look like this. There would be a can with worms coming out. But the meaning of it is not that. The meaning of it is when you try to solve a problem or answer a question, but you only create more problems or more questions. So you could really open a can of worms when, let's say, you lie to your parents, and then you have to keep lying and keep lying and keep lying. That's creating more problems for yourself. You just opened a can of worms. Another idiom would be cried crocodile tears. It said Rosie cried crocodile tears after her teacher caught her cheating on the test. If we were to take that literally, it would look like this here, which is a crocodile crying. We don't want to take it literally. The figurative meaning is crying that is not genuine or sincere. So you might have seen, if you have a little sibling or you've seen a little kid cry about something when really they were just upset that they got caught, that would be crying crocodile tears. That's another example of an idiom. We could say the old lady walked at a snail's pace. Now, we need to use the context clues in this. They specifically put old lady in this. Old ladies don't typically walk super fast. And if it's saying a snail's pace, I know that snails walk really slow. So we're using context clues to help us figure out what this idiom means. You might have heard this idiom before, so you might already know. But we hear idioms we read idioms in books, and we hear it in language, and we need to be able to know how to look at context clues to try and figure out what they mean. The literal meaning would be like, the old lady is literally walking as slow as a snail. But the figurative meaning is she's just moving or doing something very slowly. Okay, this is one that you may not automatically know. And again, looking at the context clues, that can help us figure out what it means. So in the sentence, it says, I know you don't like chocolate, but don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Just be grateful that you got a gift on Valentine's Day. Okay, so that second sentence there is vital. They're saying like, hey, you don't like chocolate, but you should be grateful. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. So look at that sentence and see if you can figure out what that means. If we took it literally, it would be like someone's giving you a horse and you're checking out its mouth. But that's not what it actually means. The figurative meaning would be, don't find fault with something that you have discovered or been given. We actually had religion lessons over this where we talked about, if someone gives you a gift, just be grateful for it. That would be like saying, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Don't, if someone gives you something, be grateful for it, whatever it is. Here's another idiom. Ben felt like a fish out of water at his younger sister's birthday party. This is a little bit, it's kind of a simile, but we would probably put it more under idioms. It doesn't really matter. It's all figurative language, but if we said that Ben felt like a fish out of water, it would not actually mean that he was a fish out of water. It would mean he was feeling very uncomfortable. Mrs. Jones pulled a rabbit out of the hat when she found a sponsor willing to pay for our field trip. Okay, a sponsor would be someone who would pay for something. And so she found someone who was willing to pay for the field trip. She found someone. And I know about pulling a rabbit out of a hat, that it's like a magician pulls a rabbit out of the hat and it surprises everyone. So the meaning of this, the figurative meaning, I should say, is doing something unexpected to solve a problem. Let's do just a couple more here. I walked into our new school library and felt like a kid in a candy store. Again, kind of a simile, kind of not. Or kind of more like an idiom. It doesn't matter. It's all figurative language. If I took it literally, it would look like this. But a kid in a candy store, that just means that you're feeling really happy and you're doing what you want without restricting your behavior. So I feel like a kid in a candy store whenever I walk into a crafts store. If you're in my class, you know that I love crafts. And so I feel like I am in my element and I'm so happy. That would be like feeling like a kid in a candy store. I hit the nail on the head when I guessed Tim and Nina were getting married. This person guessed it. They guessed that they were getting married. So what that figuratively means is when you are right about something, if you hit the nail on the head, you're right. You've got it. So this would be the literal, what it would look like literally, but this is the actual figurative definition. One more. Wendy got full marks for the test. Wendy got full marks for the test. She is one smart cookie. Okay. Full marks means she got an A. And she's one smart cookie. If you're a smart cookie, you're very smart. You're very clever. Okay. So we've got our sentence with context clues. We've got a literal meaning and we've got our figurative meaning here. The reason why I'm really focusing on that is because this is, again, what you're going to be doing for your assignment. Notice how in this sentence, it did not just say, Wendy is one smart cookie, because it wanted to give you context clues in the sentence so that you could figure out what it meant, right? So looking at all these context clues here, again, they didn't just say, I hit the nail on the head. They expanded that sentence so that you could really see what that idiom meant. All right, so now let's talk about what your assignment is going to be. First of all, your first assignment is to do this Google form here. It has, it's a practice of looking at context clues and trying to figure out what an idiom means. It's a really important skill because, like I said, we see idioms in our books all the time, and it's important to be able to look at the words around it and try to figure out what it means. Now, I'm not giving you these I will say on this Google form, there are some that are like, they're not super common. Like I say, that person's a smart cookie a lot, but I don't say a lot of these idioms a lot. They're not the first ones on my list. But again, this is to practice looking for context clues. So there's 15 of these questions that you can do, and they're multiple choice. Do the best you can, please. So that's your first assignment. And then your second assignment is you're going to help make a class book about idioms. Because really the only way to learn idioms is just to, I could never teach you all the idioms in the world because we use so many of them. So we just want to expose ourselves to as many as we can. This is what your assignment looks like here. Here's my class idiom book. And you'll notice that there's 25 slides. The reason why there are 25 slides is because I have 25 students. So each person is going to get their own slide. So the way that you figure out what slide is yours is you look at the number. If your number is 1 in my class, slide number 1 is yours. So Kin, you would do this slide. Do not do all of them. Just do one. Just do the one that's assigned to you. Lee, you would do slide number 2. Nathan, you would do slide number 3, and so on. So you only do one slide, and you just fill that out, and it's going to look very, very similar to what I just showed you. So I'm going to show you an example of how to fill this out. If I was assigned this idiom, hit it out of the park. Let me move my camera over here. If I was assigned this idiom, I may not know at first what it means, and that's okay. If you don't know at first what it means, just search. Hit it out of the park idiom. I want you to feel free to look these up because chances are you don't know all these idioms off the top of your head. Off the top of your head, that's an idiom. But feel free to look up the meaning. Write the meaning here. So the meaning of hit it out of the park is did really well. So now I need to make sure my sentence has lots of context clues, just like the ones in that PowerPoint. I'm not just going to say, I hit it out of the park. That doesn't have any context clues. That doesn't have anything else in the sentence that clues me in to what this means. So my sentence for hit it out of the park is going to be something like, when I received an A on my test, I really hit it out of the park. I'm going to highlight my idiom. I'm going to make this. I'm pressing this button here, highlighting it. Okay. So that's my sentence with context clues. And then for the pictures. Okay, so the literal picture would be like if it literally meant hit it out of the park. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a literal picture of a baseball being hit out of the park. So I'm going to insert, you're going to insert a picture here by pressing insert image. And what's going to be easiest and probably the safest, just so that you don't get anything weird, is just press search the web like that. And I'm going to look for a baseball park. When I find one, I'm just going to press it like this, and I'm going to click insert. It's probably going to come out really big. There we go. And so I'm going to use the tricks that I learned from my Grinch tutorial the other day. I'm going to make it smaller. And if I want to move it around, remember I go to these edges here and I look for that arrow with I look for that marker with the 4 arrows on it. So this is not the only thing I want to have on my picture though. Hit it out of the park means you're hitting a baseball out of the park if I were taking that literally. So I'm going to put another picture on top of that. And I want for you, when you're making these pictures, when you're making, to kind of combine pictures together. So I'm going to look for, and it doesn't have to be anything super complicated. I'm going to add a baseball onto my picture by pressing the baseball and pressing insert. I'm going to make it really small because it's getting hit out of the park. I'm going to move it. It's going to be like in the sky over there. See how my picture is a baseball being hit out of the park? If I wanted to get really fancy, I could put a baseball player here with the bat and easy peasy, okay? Let's say I wanted to have this picture here, this big picture, be in front of this one. I would just right-click it, and I would press Order, and I'd say I want to bring that to the front. So now it's in front of the baseball, but I don't actually want to do that. I want to send it to the back, okay? So that's my literal picture, but what hit it out of the park really means is you did really well. So for my figurative picture, I'm going to just have a thumbs up. Sure, this is the one for me. I'm going to insert that. I'm going to make him smaller so he fits in that square. I'm going to move him up here. He needs to be a little smaller. Remember, I go to those corners to make them smaller. That's my figurative picture. Now, be creative. Have fun with this, okay? Make these pictures as, as wonky as you want to, as long as they make sense. I'm excited to see what you have. And then after everyone's done, or, while people are working on it, you can be looking at what they put for theirs. So that is your idioms assignment. I really genuinely cannot wait to see what you guys put. All right. Have a good one, guys.